So I was like, get the doctor. Like I just yelled out, get the doctor. She's here. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have her here. Finally. We all been waiting. Okay, rewind. Hi guys, welcome back to Simply Sadie. If this is your first time here, thank you and welcome. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and join the family. Turn on those notifications so you're notified every single time I post. And then if you make it to this video and you enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up as well. And then also, if you haven't subscribed to our family channel, go on over and subscribe to that channel as well. Today's video is going to be my labor and delivery story. So if you haven't watched my first labor and delivery story, go ahead and watch that. But before we get into this video, let me go ahead and introduce you guys to Miss Amani Rain, baby girl number 2. You guys know Mackenzie already. This is our newest addition to our family, Amani Rain. She was born on January 7, 2020 at 11:16 p.m. She weighed 8 pounds and 5 ounces and she was 20 inches long. Look at her. Oh my gosh, she is so beautiful. This is the newest addition to our family, so let's all go ahead and welcome her. So a few days before, maybe like a day and a half before I initially went to the doctor, I was having this like sharp pain, but no like contractions. Well, the contractions that I remember feeling when I was pregnant with Mackenzie, I wasn't feeling that sensation. So I was like, okay, I'm not in labor, but something else is going on because I was having that sharp pain. But I just went on and, you know, went about my regular scheduled program because it wasn't consistent. My 40-week appointment was on January 7, 2020 at 3 p.m. It was like 39 and 6 days. I went into my doctor. I mentioned my like sharp pain to her and she was like, okay, we'll check and get it all figured out and, you know, figure out what's going on. But she had asked me like my 37 week, 38, 39, and then again at 40 if I wanted her to like check me, and I was like, no, up until 40. My mom was here in South Korea with us and I wanted her to be here for the labor and delivery. So she checked me and she told me that I was 3 centimeters, 70% effaced, and as she was like taking off her glove, I noticed like mucus on her glove. So I was like, oh my gosh, is that my mucus plug? And she was like, yes. But at this point I still wasn't having contractions or anything. I was kind of having the sharp pain, but like I said, it wasn't bad. It was no like cause for concern. But she did say that since I was 3 centimeters and 70% effaced, that she would send me over to like the labor and delivery so that they can check me and see what's going on and see if I was having contractions. And I'm like, no, I'm not having contractions. I don't feel anything, so I'm fine. But lo and behold, I went over there for them to check me. They hooked me up to the machine and everything. They monitored me for a little bit and they told me that I was having contractions every 7 minutes. And by this time, because I went to my appointment at 3, I didn't finish my appointment until 4, and then I went over to the labor and delivery unit. By then it was like 5 o'clock because it took them time to like get me in and hook me up and all that. So by then it was like 5 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock I was actually starting to feel the contractions. So I think that when the doctor checked me, I feel like she activated something. But they were like, okay, just go back home and come back when they're 5 minutes apart. Like, we won't keep you at this point. So I was like, okay. So me and my mom rode together, and then Andre rode in his own car, and my mom wanted to get something from the store. So as I'm like having contractions, she was like, can we go to the store real quick? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna get out because, you know, I don't want to be up in there like huffing and puffing and trying to breathe and stuff. So I stayed in the car. I was fine, just kind of breathing through it. It wasn't bad at all. So we left the store, started to head back home, and then at this point Andre had called and asked what we wanted to eat, and I'm like, just grab pizza because I'm not cooking. I don't think anybody wants to cook right now because we may not even have time to finish the meal before it's time to like run up out of there and leave. I'm gonna say we got home from the store like 6:30 maybe. I also grabbed my yoga ball and I started kind of just swaying my hips on the yoga ball in the living room, and everybody else is just living their normal lives, walking around the house feeling fine, and I'm just like in pain, but it was still like I was okay. I started doing the contraction counter from 6:30 up until about 8:30. My contractions are like 4 or 5 minutes apart, so let me shower and get ready to go. We left the house at 8:45 and the hospital on post is about 15 minutes away from our house. So we got there like about 9 o'clock. I had my mom drop me off at the door of the hospital because I was like, just let me out, you guys park, because it was raining too. So I was like, you guys park next to each other so you guys can walk in together, and I'm gonna just go ahead and get started. As I'm walking through the hospital, mind you, I have to go to the 5th floor, so I'm like walking to the hospital to the elevator and I keep stopping. I'm like, whew, let me breathe, you know, catch my breath, think. But wait, let me rewind. So before I left the house and I was like eating my pizza on my yoga ball, I told myself that, you know, I had a conversation with myself and I was like, this time around I want to go all natural again, but I want to be more in control, make sure I'm able to like calm my own nerves, focus on my breathing, and just be overall calm. The first thing, which is super crazy, the first guy that like comes to me, he's like, we've been waiting for you. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, they told us you were coming. So I'm thinking, oh, I was here earlier, they must have told them that I was coming back. But no, that wasn't the case. So he gets on his walkie and he's like, your mom's here. I think he said your mom's here or your mother's here. And I was like, what do you mean your mom's here? And he was like, oh, I was just letting her know you were here. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just thinking like, okay, they was expecting me to come back because like my contractions were 7 minutes apart, 3 centimeters dilated, 70% effaced. A lady walks out from the back and she's like, oh, hi, come to this room. She was like, okay, this your first baby? Yeah. I was like, no, my second. And she's like, wait, I thought this was your first baby. You're here to get induced, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm already in labor. And that's when she was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh too, because what if she never asked those questions and they started like hooking me up to the IV and stuff, you know, and they was inducing me and I didn't need to be induced. I told her that the guy back there didn't even check for my ID, which they supposed to do. Check for my ID, verify that I am who I say I am, you know, make sure that I'm even supposed to have access to these services. So they took me to like the triage room. They came in, they started hooking me up and stuff. They told me that my contractions were 4 minutes apart. I was, I believe, 6 centimeters dilated at this point, 90% effaced. They started to hook me up on the IV, but they couldn't get it in like my like the bend of my arm, and they couldn't get it in my wrist. So then they tried my hand, they still couldn't get it in. Another person had tried to put the needle in like the same 3 spots that she tried, so I already had 6 holes on one arm. That's when they were like, okay, let's get the anesthesiologist because your veins are like blocked off or something. And me personally, I was tired of getting poked. The anesthesiologist came. It took him like 2 tries probably, and he finally got it in. He got it in my like hand. They asked me what I wanted for pain management, and I told them nothing, but I do want to know what my options are. So he told me about epidural. My blood pressure was high, I think, and then also they wanted to keep tabs on the baby. They were like, oh, flip to your left side. And as soon as I flipped to my left side, I felt that sharp pain like shoot down, and I was like, oh no, I can't lay like this, like this is not gonna work. And then the doctor came in. She was like, she needed me to sign these papers just in case I needed a blood transfusion. It was just a whole bunch of paperwork. It was a long time where I was just laying there. They were monitoring me, they were in and out. And like I said, I kept on asking, can I get up? Because I want to walk around, because sitting and laying was just much more painful to me for some reason. Like I wanted to get up and just walk and be mobile. So about 10:30, I'm gonna say, rolled around and they were like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and like admit me. But I had been there for so long already, but they were just monitoring me. I still didn't have like my luggage and stuff out the car, nothing. Like my mom and my husband just came up, they just came up behind me. So as we were walking from the triage room to the labor and delivery room, I just felt my body like push, like you just get that natural like sensation, like your body is pushing for you and you just kind of assisting and your body is doing the pushing. So I was like, get the doctor, like I just yelled out, get the doctor. I kind of knew like, okay, she wasn't just gonna drop out as soon as my body pushed, but I was worried. I just stopped. I'm like breathing, I'm like letting it pass because it was like a contraction along with the push. So I'm trying to let it pass and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have this baby right here on the floor. It passed. And they were like, okay, come on, let's get you to the room. And they got me to the room, they got me to the bed. I still had my top on. They only had me undressed from my bottom down when they were like monitoring me. They went back to check me, and then I think I was 8 centimeters if I'm not mistaken. The doctor had come back in. She started having her like assistants dress her. They start laying out all these knives and stuff. And I'm just like watching. And then my body goes push again, and I wasn't really helping at this point. I just kind of was like trying to fight it almost, not really knowing what to do. I was like, what do I do? Because my water hasn't broken yet. She said do what comes naturally. So I'm like, am I really supposed to push and my water hasn't broken? Like, I mean, I didn't know what the order of events was supposed to be, and she was just like, do what comes naturally. They didn't put my feet in the stirrups or anything. Like, they had the soles of my feet together and then pulled in like toward my body. I just started pushing with my body, but it was like really long in between each push. So when I noticed that it was like really long in between, I started talking to myself again. Okay, stay calm, you know, breathe, focus on your breathing. But I'm holding Andre's hand and I'm holding my mom's hand, and I let go of Andre. I'm like, go get the water. But I'm like, if the contraction come back before you get over there and get the water, just come back, because I need a hand to squeeze on both sides. And then I tell the nurse in between the next contraction, I'm like, can you cut my shirt off of me, because I'm so hot and I don't want to like lift up to pull it off of me. She was like, yep, I sure can. So she cut my shirt off of me, and I'm like, okay, contraction again. It was like a lot of time in between, and I was kind of talking and communicating with everybody, and they were like, oh my gosh, you are so strong, like talking between contractions, go mom. Like, they were just rooting me on and stuff, and it made me feel really good. It made me feel confident. It made me feel like I could do it, and I was just like, let's go. So I asked her, if the baby comes out in the sack, don't pop it. I want to see, because I've seen all those cool videos where the baby is still like swimming around in the sack, and I was like, if that happens to me, please don't pop it. I want to see. I push again, and then on this next push is when my water, like, it broke. I heard it again. I heard it pop, and then it like splashed, and the doctor was like, woo. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, I would have had to stop the whole labor and delivery process. Like, let me go clean myself off. But she was just like, oh, you're doing fine. Yeah, your water broke. You know, she was just, they were still like rooting me on, like, oh my gosh, go mom, you're doing a good job. It really is painful, and you do have to kind of brace yourself for it. Focus on your breathing and not really try to focus on the pain. But I did a couple more pushes, and then baby girl just popped right out, like slid right out. Like, I felt her just come right out. I was just like, oh, thank God, because after it's over. Like, there's no more pain after that. It doesn't even feel like you had a baby after that. They put her on my chest for about 15 to 20 minutes, and they were like, okay, we have to take her because we don't want you to like pass out or anything because you're losing too much blood. And I'm like, losing too much blood? Like, everything is just going through my mind at this point, because they said you're losing too much blood, we got to take the baby. I was like in panic mode, but I was also like, okay, let me breathe. So they took the baby into like a little like room where they had like the baby bed and the heater thingy and all that, so I could clearly see her. I did deliver the placenta, and that went very smoothly. So it was after the delivery of the placenta is when I like started to like bleed a little more than usual or normal. They started pushing on my stomach a little bit, and then she was like, okay, it's not stopping. So they were like, okay, we're gonna give you Pitocin in the IV. So then after that, she said she had to give me a shot in my arm that would make me nauseous and maybe have diarrhea as well. Give it to me so that we can be done with this. You know, I was just done at that point. But this, I'm saying they did all these 3 things already, but it was like time in between each thing, and it was just like they were monitoring the bleeding. It didn't stop, so they did the next thing, then did the next thing. After that, things started to calm down a little bit. She wanted to stitch me twice. So she asked me if I wanted 2 shots to get the 2 stitches, and I was like, the shots hurt, huh? And she was like, yeah. And so I was like, after everything that I just went through, just give me the stitches. Then that's when I was like, I feel nauseous. It was that shot. She told me what make me feel nauseous or diarrhea or both or whatever. As soon as I'm like saying it, it just started just going everywhere. A lot of time had passed from the time I delivered her at 11:16 p.m. to the time that like they did all the stuff for me to make sure I was okay. And I hadn't nursed her yet. She hadn't had a lot of skin to skin, only what I had given her, which was like 15 minutes. They had Andre do skin to skin with her, and by this point the like diarrhea part of the shot they gave me had kicked in. It was like total like 45 minutes, almost an hour of me being in the restroom. I went into the little room that was on the side that they had her in, and that's when they told me that her temperature was low. They didn't want her to do more skin to skin. They wanted to keep her under the light and for me to express some milk to give her to hopefully help like regulate her temperature. It took a long time for her temperature to regulate and everything, and then they said she had a little bit of jaundice, which was low, I guess, and they finally let us go to our room, which by then was like 2 o'clock in the morning, like 2 or 3 in the morning. I think that's basically the gist of it. Like that's everything that happened. I hope you guys enjoyed my labor and delivery story. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't turned on those notifications, go ahead and do that as well. And then give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our family channel as well. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.